Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juliana, if you've never been here before, and I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited that you guys are here as well. Don't forget to smash the like button. I think it's either over here or over there, and don't forget to hit subscribe. I post new videos every week. Let's move on to the content we are talking about today. So today we are going to be talking about servers, and we're going to be building our own simple HTTP server in every language and platform available without licensing. Below there are going to be instructions on how to install each type of language and platform that we're going to be talking about today on every operating system. Go ahead and pause and install all of those. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video on how to install them, just because of the fact that it's slightly tedious to do a video over that. There are so many other ones on the internet that I'm not quite sure if I need to do it or not. Given that, we are going to be doing them ranked from easiest to hardest, meaning like the easier ones typically have less code in order to rank the HTTP server, and then the most difficult ones are typically require a lot more coding and understanding of how your operating system kind of operates and how a computer works. So let's move on to what we're going to actually be doing today. All right, so today is going to be about beginners server programming. There's a lot of fundamental concepts here with the surround servers that I'm not going to cover very well in this video, just because it's way too much for somebody who's like super new to this stuff to really grasp. So what you will need in order to like partake in the tutorial portions is a text editor of some sort. If you watched the previous video, I listed out some good ones. Otherwise, let's get started. So what we are going to cover today are simple HTTP servers written in Python, Ruby, Java, Rust, Node.js, and C++. C++ is definitely the hardest one. I might not even actually do the tutorial for it just because of how difficult it is, and that might be more of like an intermediate to advanced video. The rest of them are decently easy in comparison. Don't forget that you have to install all of the platforms per language. Let's move on. Python is an interpreted language that people like to use for various projects. The best use for it, I think, is for ML and AI related projects. It was first introduced in 1991. There are two ways to run a server, a simple HTTP server with this. One through the command line, and the other one is through a .py file, running it through the interpreter. All right, let's cd into the appropriate directory and run the Python command to run a simple HTTP server in the directory in that basic web programming tutorial that I did a couple weeks ago. And you will see that everything functions accordingly. Yay, woohoo! Ruby is also an interpreted language that is used in various projects as well. It's a little bit newer than Python, and it was introduced in the mid-90s. This one is dynamically typed, meaning they don't really have any defined typing. It runs very similarly to Python in the fact that you can run it in your terminal, or you can run it through a .rb file. Well, your server code. Alright, so I'm going to list out the directory with ls, and then I'm going to check to see if Ruby is properly installed, and it is. So I'm going to switch over to the browser to show you that it is not running, and then I'm going to run it in the terminal, and then you will see that everything loads and everything's working. Woohoo! Yay! Node.js is a back-end implementation of JavaScript that allows you to basically run JavaScript as server code. It was introduced in the late 2000s, so it's relatively new. It also operates through a shell, kind of like a scripting language, but isn't quite a scripting language. Just due to the fact that everything kind of has to be wrapped around in a function for the most part. You can't really run a server through the command line like Python or Ruby, like not a simple HTTP server, but you can use a JS file for that. Alright, so I'm going to cd to the appropriate directory and open a text editor within the same directory, which is basic servers. And then I'm going to create a new file called servers.js. And from there, I am going to start writing my server code. So I have to import or require the standard HTTP package, and then I have to run create server as the method, and then I have to give it a callback, which is what the function parentheses rec res function is, and then eventually I have to append the listener, so it has to listen on port 8000. And then once I am done with all of that, I am going to go back to my terminal. And then I'm going to run the server.js file with my node installation. And I check to see if it's installed, and it is. And then from there, it's not going to have an output because I didn't require it to have an output. So you'll see once I switch over that it does hello world. It's not the same thing as the last one though, but it's a different it's a different hello world than the stuff that was in the other directories. Alright, now we are increasing in difficulty. Java was introduced in the mid-90s, just like Ruby, but Java was introduced as something kind of revolutionary as a object-oriented programming language. So everything it's all based around this idea that you have to use an object in order to run anything really related to servers and whatnot. It's really nice because a lot of stuff is already kind of written for you, so all you have to do is import a bunch of packages and whatnot and extend classes. These are kind of annoying if you are very new to programming because Java file names are required to have the same name as your publicly defined class within the file. And then the extension .java is also required. All of the previously mentioned platforms don't require this kind of a stipulation, but it's mandatory for Java. I'm going to skip over a lot of the explanation during this Java tutorial just because it's going to kind of be too dense for what I want to accomplish with this. So these files will be available on the GitHub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for a Medium article that is about implementing a simple HTTP server using Java. And I'm going to copy and paste that code from this guy's tutorial over into my file, and then I need to update the highlighted well, you guys will need to, if you guys follow this tutorial like to a T, then you guys will need to change the highlighted lines that I'm highlighting to the appropriate strings that I've attributed within this file. I also forgot to install the JDK, so I added that to this file in order to install. I kind of forgot to do that. There are instructions on how to do that per operating system online for that. You basically just click it and install it. But once you get all of that installed and running, you can just go over to the terminal and run Java on the server.java file. Rust is still pretty difficult. Regularly speaking, I wouldn't say it's as difficult as Java, but there's a lot more documentation on Java than there is on Rust, so I ranked Java just a little bit easier than Rust, just based on that fact. Rust is very interesting as it is newer than Java. It was also introduced in the late 2000s, in 2010. Files written in Rust typically have a .rs file extension. All right, now we're going to focus on the Rust tutorial. The code is a little bit more simplistic than Java, but like I said, there's more there's more documentation on Java than there is on Rust. So I just went over to this guy's simple Rust server tutorial on GitHub, and I'm basically copying and pasting his code in there and then editing it to match what it is that I'm looking for. And just like the Node.js server example, the hello world in this one is not like the basic web. It's a custom one that gets written to the browser. Rust is compiled, so you have to run the executable as I show in the as depicted in the terminal. C++ is my favorite. I learned it in high school, but it's not easy. It's very difficult, as you can tell on the right. I literally only added comments on the steps you need to take in order to, get a server running in C++, just even a simple one. This is not the case in any other language. This is the most difficult one. It allows you to talk to the computer at a rudimentary level. You can even inline assembly. This is all probably way above your understanding of what is going on if you've never heard of any of this before. It's a pretty old, a lot of the previously mentioned platforms were implemented in originally. I'm not going to cover the C++ tutorial. I have a public repository with a simple HTTP server written in C++, but I really just don't want to cover that one. Sorry. But the information's good. That concludes my video on beginner server programming. Thank you guys for watching, and ciao! And I apologize for the lighting in this intro. I've been trying to film this intro for like days now. Otherwise, let's move on to what content we are talking about today.